Scruff, McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652. Ha! Caught you by surprise. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday here on the Breakfast Burrito. It is DJ Yoakley. It is Tommy Pease, and we are Scruff McGruffing it today, man. I'll tell you what, we were talking a little bit. I saw a Geico commercial. Incredible. Hats off to Geico, bringing Scruff McGruff back after about a 20-year hiatus. But how are you, man? Happy Tuesday.
I'm good, man. It's Tuesday. Got a little hop in my step today. So,
giddy up?
Yeah. You too. I mean, you're Scruff McGruffing it here this morning, so you're fired up as well.
Listen, when you start your day with the He-Man theme song and then followed by some Scruff McGruff, just because you're inspired by the early 90s, there's no better way to start your day.
I agree. The early 90s were hot.
Were you a cartoon kid?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I remember watching like the Smurfs, Dennis the Menace.
Oh yeah.
That's about it.
What was your jam when you were little? What was I had the Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles. What did you have?
Hulk Hogan.
You were straight wrestling from the conception.
I love Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
Still love Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. I was into wrestling.
I'm a Hulkamaniac, brother.
Oh yeah. Well, aren't we all? If in some capacity, I think we're all Hulkamaniacs. It's just the level of Hulkamaniac that you are. Are you like a level 10 Hulkamaniac?
I think I'm pretty darn close to a level 10 Hulkamaniac, yes.
Wow. Okay. All right. Peasamania is going to be running wild here today, this Tuesday. He's got a little jump in his giddy up. Starting off with some kind of down news. I mean, one less team in the tournament. South Range losing last night. We had Anthony Hartwig on the beat, and South Range tried to pull it off at the end, but final score 46-42. Range loses only their second game of the year and fourth game in 2 years. And funny stat here. Obviously, they lost to Canton Central Catholic. But funny stat was, where is it? I'm trying to look it up. Lost 4 times in 2 years, 2 times to LeBray, 2 times to Canton Central Catholic. So you've lost to only 2 teams in 2 years. That is weird, yet very impressive, yet kind of sad.
Yeah, it's different. You don't see that very often. We had that issue down here in Liverpool in the mid to late 90s, maybe early 2000s with Zanesville. We couldn't. They were the team that had our number. We always seen them late in the sectional final. But yeah, I mean, I actually watched that LeBray game when you guys did it live on Facebook against South Range. And that was it was a thriller in the Thriller Dome, as you say. And but yeah, last night, I mean, I know you said Canton Central Catholic shot 78% from the field in the first half, and I don't care how good of a basketball team you are, if somebody's throwing up 78% of their shots are going in, you're in trouble. And they did fight back and cut it to 4 there at the end of the game, but it's a tough task to overcome. 78% shooting from the field.
Yeah, and he had Brandon Youngs, the senior, going out swinging, had 7 of his game high 12 points in the last 2 minutes, but Canton Central Catholic, CCC, as Anthony Hartwig reports, just too athletic, couldn't keep them in front of them until the last 2 minutes when they made that run at it. So hats off to all those involved over at South Range. An incredible season comes to a unexpected end in a kind of disappointing close to what it was otherwise an unbelievable season. Coach Cullen and his troops over there, the seniors going out the way, probably not that they wanted, but you can't really complain with the season and the 2 seasons that they've had as junior and senior. So Mike Cunningham, Brady White, Brandon Youngs, and the crew over there, Brendan Toy. Man, just interesting kind of development, that they've had, and obviously wanted to go a little further, but Canton Central Catholic, like you said, shooting 80%. You're shooting 8 out of 10 in anything. You're in good shape, and just a little too much. 4 points? 46-42. So 4 points too many given up by the Raiders. But hats off for an excellent season over there, and I'm sure that this isn't the last time we'll hear about Raider basketball. There's, like we talked about yesterday, they just keep reloading. So it'll be a journey, but the journey starts now into the 2019 season. And I firmly believe, knowing Coach Cullen the way I do, that he's already got his sights set on, looking back at the season, looking at things that, he would want to do better. His expectations of this team moving forward, and he'll be at it tomorrow. I can tell you, he's one of those guys, first in the gym, last one out. So it's going to be interesting to see. So again, thank you so much to South Range boys for allowing us to do so much with them on the YSN side of things. We appreciate that, and best of luck to seniors as they kind of move towards graduation, whether it's, just enjoying the rest of their year or, in different activities to complete their senior year. So that's it for the local wrap-up, really. I mean, I take that back. There was an upset last night. I don't know if you saw it. 4-seed Western Reserve beats number 1 seed McDonald 54-52. Western Reserve pulling out a big W over heavily favored McDonald. So it just, you've said it before, anything can happen in tournament play. And I'll tell you what, Western Reserve, proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. McDonald had to be a huge favorite going into that. Western Reserve came to play, I take it.
Yeah, and Western Reserve is a tough team defensively. I mean, they've got an Ohio State walk-on from the football side, but Jack Capabianca is nothing to mess with, and they've got some scores too. So Western Reserve could be gearing up for a decent run here in the boys' tourney, and just kind of surprising to see McDonald, kind of pushed out of the way by a local team. I expected McDonald to have a huge run. So, I mean, we got to do the same thing. Hats off to McDonald, and even more, continued success for Western Reserve. The Blue Devils over there really starting to hit their stride.
Yeah, how many? So we got Western Reserve still in the playoffs. I mean, I would consider them a local team. On the girls, is that it on the men's side? The boys'
I'm taking
side?
a look right now. I mean, there's a lot of teams that we could consider local, but are they really? Let's take a look here. What do we got? It looked like the Canfield's out. That's really it. That's about all she wrote. At least on our YSN roundup report, Camel Memorial still in it. They beat United, so technically they're local here. That's on the boys' side. Steubenville's out. Liberty's out. Yeah, that's about it. Valley Christian beat Lisbon, last week. Yep, I'd say that's about it, my friend.
And then on the girls' side, we got the Lady South Range team, and then the Lady Lisbon Blue Devils as well. So
that's right. And the Lady South Range Raiders play Wednesday, tomorrow at 6:15. Chippewa Chips is what I'm being told. And then Lakeview and Poland. I guess Poland's technically a local team. They play tomorrow at 7. We have Struthers and Howland going at it in boys basketball Thursday at 7. And then girls for Lisbon, they play Dalton at 8 o'clock on Thursday. So, yeah, good luck to all our local teams here. If you have any information, you want to cover that for us for a beat report, give us a shout. We want to connect with you, make sure we get that coverage. So thanks so much for all these teams and all they do for us. And, we look forward to continue our coverage into the spring. All right, man. This is the topic that is huge, huge, huge for the NFL, for the region here, for basically the future of, I guess, the National Football League, the league. Because one way it sways one team, and one way it could sway all the others. Mr. Le'Veon Bell, expected to be franchise tagged this afternoon. as most pundits have been saying the entire time. 1 month ago, we had Le'Veon Bell talking about how there's going to be a deal reached. He's very confident. He's very optimistic. And now it's, you said they're about $1 million apart.
Yeah, he wants closer to 14.5 to 15 million a year is what he won't say the exact number, but that's what speculation has. 14.5, 15 million a year. He turned down the $42 million contract, which was 13.3 million over the life of the deal. And it said on a report on ESPN.com that even Le'Veon's mom wanted him to sign that deal. But and Bell almost did, but he ended up not signing it. And now here we are back pretty much where we were last year with Lev Bell and the Steelers. The soap opera continues. But funny thing is, Lev Bell, who, had a little history of some injuries in his career here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, he doesn't participate in training camp, and he comes out and has a injury-free season. So maybe he's onto something here. But hopefully, Steelers and Lev Bell can get on the same page and make it happen for all of us Steeler homers, because when it comes to running backs in the NFL, there's very few names, if any, that can produce at the level of Le'Veon Bell. So we've seen a little surprise last year down in New Orleans with Alvin Kamara, who has a very similar skill set to Lev Bell, and you've seen the type of season he has. So he's just not the type of player. Those aren't the type of players that you want to let walk, especially over, maybe $1 million difference in what you're offering and what he's asking for. So I don't have nothing against Lev Bell. He knows what he's worth, and he knows what he brings to the table for the Steelers. And I said it before on here, and I'll say it again, just pay the man. Just pay the man, because you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody to step into that role and even produce maybe 60-70% of what he does for the Steelers, because he's an every down back. He's an every down player. He lines up all over the field, keeps defenses off balance. He's special. So
here's my take. I firmly believe that you tag him this year, you try to work out a contract that's comfortable for the team. If you can't come to an agreement, run the wheels off this guy. Run him into the ground. Running backs, I understand where you're coming from. He's a special player. He's a special athlete. His agent trying to sell him as, he plays every down. But reality is he doesn't play every down. Reality is he has been injury prone. Reality is if you give him a 5-year contract, is this guy going to be injured for the first 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, and then try to play for another contract? Because I don't think he's trying to play the system, but I think he's trying to play the system. I think that because he was, he fought through some injuries that he probably, we probably have no idea about. That's just football. But he was a little soft the first few years. Obviously, he's one. Well, I guess he's not one strike away. He's got it rigged. So anytime he gets busted for marijuana, it's going to be an automatic 4-game suspension. They can't suspend him any less. They can't suspend him any more. So he's one puff away from 4-game suspension, and the Steelers have to take that into account, because if this guy signs a big deal and goes out and has a party, you miss him for 4 games next year. So there has to be accountability for that. We talked a little bit about it prior to airtime this morning. I think the biggest thing for Le'Veon Bell is incentivize the contract. If you stay clean, if you can pass drug tests, randomized drug tests at the drop of a hat, similar to what James Harrison's had to go through, you can get that $14.5 million per year. But if you fail, you have no guaranteed money. Nothing. Not a dime. Because you're costing your teams essentially 4 games, because it says right in the article that when Le'Veon Bell has 25 carries or more during his career, the Steelers are undefeated. So what that tells me as a negotiator would be, okay, what's the number when he's not playing? How are the Steelers stacking up? Because we've seen it where they're not even close. I mean, you take the game, and obviously Antonio Brown was out as well, but last year in the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl, Le'Veon Bell gets hurt, 2-3 plays into the game, doesn't play the rest of the game, and the Steelers are tapped. I mean, he was a huge part of the game plan in beating the Patriots, as we saw this year. So if he's not on the field, yeah, it's a problem. But at least if you can go out and draft somebody. Here's my plan for the Steelers. Go out and draft a running back, not a Le'Veon Bell type running back, but get somebody that you can rely on. If a Nick Chubb falls in the draft to the 3rd round, take him. Take him. Nick Chubb is a talent. He's an overcomer. He is going to be similar to the cat, not Alvin Kamara, the other one from Alabama down in New Orleans. What's his name? Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram. Nick Chubb is Mark Ingram. It took a few years for Mark Ingram to get going, but look out. You can replace Le'Veon Bell with 2 backs that cost you $14.5 million. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, but they're not Le'Veon Bell.
They don't have to be.
Yeah, but they do. They do. Listen, Le'Veon Bell is averaging 128.9 yards from scrimmage in his career per game. That is the best since the 70 NFL-AFL merger, okay? We know he's an every down back. You already talked about that. We talked about how he can line up anywhere on the field, which always is constant mismatches for Brown or whoever else is on the other side of the ball. He's an elite pass blocker. He plays the role of a number 2 receiver on the field. You already said Steelers undefeated when he gets 25 or more carries, and he plays smart. You know, he don't really put his body. I mean, he takes a beating because he's a running back, but he doesn't put his body on the line. And you know, he's a very cerebral running back, very smart running back about, you know, how he chooses his holes, his hesitation. He's special. He's not, and you can go out and draft whoever you want, but nobody is going to step in to that role for Pittsburgh and deliver what Le'Veon Bell has done in his career. You mentioned, you know, popping the P test for marijuana or whatever it was back in the day. I would imagine that he's past that, because if he's going to come to the table wanting $14.5 million, you know, you can't be a risky bet. You know, you like Martavis Bryant. You know, he's a risk, but I think Bell's past that. He's shown what he can do on the field, especially, you know, in the past year or two. And you know, if you can't replace the guy and you can't replace the numbers he brings to the table, you got to pay him. That's just my take on it.
So, quick question for you: if he's irreplaceable, how many wins does he have currently as a playoff player?
I'm not sure. Is it none?
I think he's got one.
One
in that Bengals game, and that should. And let's be real here. That shouldn't even be a win. That was
why you say that?
That was a complete massacre by a bungle by the Bengals, right? All that stuff that happened late in the game, the penalties by Burfict, running off the field, all that stuff. The Steelers, for all intents and purposes, should not have won that game. Would you agree?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So you're looking at a guy who is irreplaceable, has one asterisk playoff victory, and no Super Bowl championships. No, it's not like he's setting the world on fire in the playoffs. That's great that he's doing it for 16 games, but when he gets to the playoffs, I'd like to see, and I'll look it up here, the numbers for Le'Veon Bell during that Patriots game. What is that? 18, right? Well, he didn't play.
Let's see here.
He didn't play in the Patriots game. He played like 2 snaps or something. But here's the thing. If you're an irreplaceable player, Tom Brady, irreplaceable, okay? Guys like that. But what is Tom Brady surrounded by? A bunch of guys other than Gronkowski who are interchangeable pieces. The Steelers need to stop putting so much stock into, a quarterback, yes. Wide receiver, yes. Listen, man, running backs are a dime a dozen anymore. They're a dime a dozen. And yes, Le'Veon will be the first of being, that particular, breaking the mold in that. But I'll tell you what, you got a player coming out of the draft right now, and obviously we're not going to get him as Steeler fans. But you've got more players that are going to model their game after Le'Veon Bell, and there will be another Le'Veon Bell. There will be another one. I promise you that. And then it'll be yesterday's news. That's just the evolution of the running back. There's already one in New Orleans in Alvin Kamara. You know what's the nice thing about Alvin Kamara? Is he's got he can take a third down off, or he can take a first down off, and you hand the ball off to Ingram, and it's lightning and thunder. Thunder and lightning. The Steelers could benefit from, first off, hedging their bets. Tag him, stick to your guns. If he doesn't want to take $13.5 million a year, I'll bet there's a running back that would. I'll bet there's 2 running backs that would take that as a whole that you could build. And it's not Stephen Ridley. It's not James Conner. He could be a part of it. But I think that somebody like, a Nick Chubb, if he falls in the draft, he falls to you in the second, he falls to you in the third, pick him up. Give yourself some leverage. All right, Le'Veon, you want $14.5 million? Go earn it. Give him the ball till his wheels fall off. Give him the ball till he fails a drug test. And then we'll see who wants $14.5 million. Because guess what? If he gets busted or he gets injured, that $14.5 million is gone. Right now, the Steelers have the leverage because they can tag him. I don't think they can tag him 3 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
No, this will be the final year they could tag him.
So tag him now. Pay him his $14.5 million, whatever the tag's going to be this year, and run his wheels off. And if he retires, you will be compensated. The NFL is structured in a way that if he retires or he quits or he wants to be traded, there's compensation for that. So put the ball in his court. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think the Steelers are sticking to their guns. I think if they break strategy here, it's a bad look for them, especially given the contract negotiations of players in the past, like Ben Roethlisberger, like Antonio Brown. I mean, that's a bad look because they made them do it the Steeler way. And Le'Veon Bell doesn't write his own check. I'm sorry. He has not earned anything. There's no MVPs. There's no – I mean, I wouldn't even say he's the best offensive player in football.
No, his teammate's the best offensive player in football.
You got it. And he got paid. And at the end of the article on ESPN is, I just want what they got. Well, you can have what the other killer bees got whenever you're putting the numbers up. You're putting up decent numbers, but you're not making the difference between wins and losses.
Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Back up. You say he averages the most yards per game since the NFL-AFL merger. So how can you say he's not putting up numbers? Listen, you're a Steeler fan. If I told you right now that if I had asked you, let me ask you this question. Are the Steelers as good as they have been next year without Le'Veon Bell?
When do they find out? I mean, can they plan around it? Can they go out and get a free agent? Can they go out and draft?
Yeah, but they're not going to get the production they get out of Le'Veon Bell, not a guy coming in his first year.
Disagree.
Unless he's like Alvin Kamara, which isn't, was marked as an elite talent coming out of the draft. There's only one of those right now, and that's Saquon Barkley, and they ain't getting him.
No, I understand they're not getting Barkley, but I'm telling you, while Le'Veon Bell is breaking the mold of regular running backs, he is not the last, and he will not be the best. I can tell you that for certain. We've seen it before. It's a copycat league all across the board. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a better athlete than Le'Veon Bell. There already is. He's going to be drafted, I believe, first or second overall. You wait and see what Saquon, and I understand he hasn't played it down in the league, but the guy has a better head on his shoulders, a better upbringing, a better opportunity to be a better player. Le'Veon Bell, listen to this. Here's where I'm from. Le'Veon Bell is a solution to what was already built in the days before him. What I mean by that is we have one of the best offensive lines in football. There's some people that don't even think Le'Veon Bell is the best back in the league. They would look down and they would say, I'd rather have Ezekiel Elliott than Le'Veon Bell.
I wouldn't.
And why?
The only back that I would rather have other than Le'Veon Bell right now for the system that the Steelers have in place is Kamara, because he's just younger and he's faster. But other than that, maybe Johnson out of Arizona, who got injured last year.
What about
also? Nope, he's a flash in the pan. You'll see that next year.
The whole thing about it is, you say that Kamara is a product of the system.
No, Bell. No, I didn't say that Kamara's a product of the system. I'm saying that no back is going to fit our system like Le'Veon Bell unless his name's Alvin Kamara, or maybe Saquon Barkley, which we really don't know yet because we haven't seen him play a professional game.
Stephen Ridley almost had a 100-yard game, if I'm not mistaken, in week 17. I mean, I granted it's against the Browns, but the Browns put the pride in their defense. And he was doing that without offensive line, without our top offensive lineman. Our offensive line and our scheme and our system is set up to be pass first, run second. So naturally, there's going to be more defensive backs on the field than typical, because you got to defend Antonio Brown. You've got to defend Ben Roethlisberger. You've got to defend Martavis Bryant. You've got Juju. Then you've got Eli Rogers. I mean, you talk about all these, and not to mention our tight ends. And we don't even have a solid tight end right now.
Yeah, we do. You're just going to say him. Go ahead.
Vance McDonald?
Yes.
Oh, God.
We'll be a top 5 tight end in the NFL next year.
I'm putting money on this one.
I'm with you. I'll take that bet.
I'll put lunch on this, and like a nice lunch, like Red Lobster. Like
I'm in.
Don't you Olive Garden me. We're going Red Lobster.
We'll go to the Springfield Grill.
You got it.
For lunch.
Deal. All right, yeah. Dude, I'm listening. If Vance
top
McDonald
5 tight end, Vance McDonald, NFL next year, calling it. Look what he did in the playoffs.
You are such a homer.
I am a homer.
You are such a. There's no way. Top 5?
Yep, top 5.
So you're talking about all, like, in the NFL, not just the AFC.
Steelers wanted to get him heavily involved in the offense for a long, long time. He had some injury issues when he first came on board. Finally got him rolling, and you've seen what he can do in the playoffs. And that's the type of tight end that they need. He's the key piece for the Steelers to get over that hump. I'm not saying he's Rob Gronkowski by any means, but he's going to be.
Who's calling the shots? Who's calling the shots for the offense next year?
Who's calling the shots?
Yep.
Ben.
Yep.
Huh?
Yeah, he is. And
you
think Ben's going to fall in love with the short game tight end?
Vance McDonald will spread the field. He had 10 for 112 in against Jacksonville.
Yeah, but you take a look at the score. Take a look at the score. When you've got to defend Antonio Brown deep for touchdowns, Martavis Bryant deep for touchdowns. You can't be thinking about Vance McDonald. But that's why he's the key piece. That's why he's a top 5 tight end in the NFL, because teams are going to try to take away Brown. They're going to try to take away Bryant. They're probably going to try to take away Bell. But if you have a tight end who's serviceable like McDonald, who runs well, who's actually very athletic, he's going to be big time in that offense. And he's going to be, I'm telling you, he's the missing
piece to the puzzle, as long as Bell comes back, is a tight end, an athletic tight end like Vance McDonald.
I don't know, man.
I'll be preparing for my lunch.
Okay, you prepare for your lunch. You go ahead and look at the menu.
Turtle soup. I hope they have turtle soup at the Springfield Grill when I go.
I hope they do too, so you can pay for it. Dude, listen. There is so many running backs out there that are a dime a dozen that could come in and you can replace. Here's what I don't understand in Le'Veon Bell's remarks. He says he's a 4 down back and every down back. Okay. You don't need to be an every down back to have success in the NFL. Actually, it's better when you're not. Would you agree with that?
What do you mean?
So if you are
rather not be an every down back?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think every down. I like every down backs. I'd prefer every down backs.
Why do you prefer that?
I just feel it's better for the game flow, offensive game flow.
So here's my question. I'll get to that next. Let me just get my thought process here. Le'Veon Bell, if you're a defensive coordinator and you've got to prepare for just Le'Veon Bell and what he brings to the table, okay, he can run out of the backfield. Obviously, we've seen that. He doesn't really break a lot of long runs, per se. I mean, we haven't seen him. I hate to even say this. We haven't seen many Rashard Mendenhall-like runs.
Well, he doesn't have that top. Le'Veon Bell don't have that top-end speed. He's shifty. He utilizes, his vision is where Le'Veon Bell gets the majority of his yardage at. His hesitation, his vision, his eye for the hole. His ability to find space. That's what makes him special.
And that's the number one thing that people love about Le'Veon Bell is his patience. But here's the problem. If you clog the holes up and you can be as patient as you want in the world, you're still getting no gains, -1, maybe 1-2 yards a pop. That's not going to get it done. 1 to 2 yards a pop. And I understand where his statistics are, but his statistics are based around his receivers, his quarterback, and his line, right? As everybody's are. He's not doing anything for me that another back couldn't come in and do. Does that make sense? So if you have...
Well, how can you say that? Okay, so last year in the NFL, all right, Todd Gurley, of course, 2,093 all-purpose yards.
Yep.
Le'Veon Bell, 1,946.
Uh-huh.
All right. Then Kareem Hunt, 1,782. Okay, so that's almost a 200-yard difference right there between Bell and Hunt. Then you fall off to 1,586, which was LaShawn McCoy. First of all, Hunt, McCoy, Melvin Gordon, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, those guys all played 16 games. Okay? And they're in the 1,700 to 1,500 all-purpose yards. Then you got Gurley and Bell, who played 15 games, and they're at 2,000. So the gap there is wide enough to tell you that elite running backs, all-purpose running backs, 3 down backs, every down backs in the NFL who can put up monster numbers, there's not a lot of them. And you said a dime a dozen. But ultimately last year, there was 2, Gurley and Bell. Kareem Hunt, 1,782, but he had like 2 monster games. And then he went quiet for like 6 or 7 weeks because teams knew how to handle him.
Well, let's be honest. Let's be honest. The Chiefs weren't really lighting the world on fire there for a while. And it wasn't just Kareem Hunt's fault.
No,
didn't they fall into a 5-game slide or something like that along those?
They did.
So you look at it, and if Le'Veon Bell, and I'm still looking for these stats, if Le'Veon Bell has a bad game, at the end of the day, there's guys to pick him up. There's guys to pick him up. So it is what he's surrounded by. He is a product of the people that surround him. That's a team, right? That is a team. As Al Pacino says, that's a team, gentlemen. At the end of the day, why would the Steelers pay him basically for the production that the offensive line, that they've heavily paid their offensive line, heavily paid their top receiver, and heavily paid their quarterback for. Le'Veon Bell is a product of the Steelers system. There's another running back out there. I guarantee you that if they couldn't put up the exact numbers, they'd be pretty close. And if you can't do it with one, you do it with two. You can split the carries between two running backs, but you also split the money between two running backs. If you're able to bring in a Nick Chubb, if you're able to get James Conner into place, understand the system, then you have a running back that is half of what Le'Veon brings to the table. All you need is that speed back.
The only thing that I can agree with you here is maybe the fact that you could bring in two running backs to offset his production, because they did it in New Orleans. Because between Ingram and Kamara last year, they had 3,000 all-purpose yards. So basically, neither of those guys are every down backs, but they both are in the top 10 for all-purpose yards. Actually, they are, let's see here, 7th and 8th, right back-to-back. Kamara, 1,554. Ingram, 1,540. But you go down the list, there's no other team that did that. So once again, that's rare because they got two special talents. Ingram, a bruiser, who is now learning to catch the ball out of the backfield, and then Kamara, who we know is Le'Veon Bell-like, all-purpose back, can do it all. So that possibly could be a solution to offsetting the production of Le'Veon Bell, but you still got to find it. You still got to find those two guys. I mean, New Orleans, they got it, but nobody else in the NFL's got it to where they're producing those kind of yards.
I think they could do it. I think the Steelers could do it. I think they could. I think they could do it pretty easily, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to take that much. I could be. I mean, there's a lot of people that will probably disagree with me when I say that the running backs are a dime a dozen, but reality is they're usually the guys that don't have as long as careers because they're banging heads. They're beat up. For me, here's what I want to see. I want to see Le'Veon Bell get tagged. I want to see him shut his mouth and start producing when it counts in the playoffs. And until you do that, you're not a $14.5 million guy. You know who is? Antonio Brown. If you take away Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell's numbers go down dramatically. And I'm talking about dramatically. Like you're talking about just above average running back. Because if you could key on one guy, he's done. I don't think that many teams are in the scouting room on a weekly basis saying, man, forget about Antonio Brown. How is Le'Veon Bell going to beat us? I think it's Le'Veon second, Antonio first. Obviously, Ben's a part of the Antonio Brown discussion. They've got so many pieces. If Le'Veon really is about championships, I understand you've got a short span to make your money. But if Le'Veon is really about wanting to stay in Pittsburgh, then he understands that it's about championships. It's not about putting up numbers that, are the greatest since the merger. That's great. But if you're not wearing a ring at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I think Le'Veon's a selfish guy. I think he's been a selfish guy. I think his track record proves that he's a selfish guy. I think you can run his wheels off this year, let him go. And oh, by the way, you'll get a compensation pick for it. So that's just me. That's just where I'm at. And I understand that, you can say he's a special talent, but I can say that if he goes to Cleveland right now, he's Duke Johnson.
Yeah, Duke Johnson, he's tough, though. If Duke Johnson got the ball every down like Le'Veon Bell does, or is in there every down, and there was no Isaiah Crowell last year, Duke Johnson's putting up big-time numbers. But if you talked about Antonio Brown. You take away Antonio Brown, then it hurts Le'Veon Bell. But that's in any facet of the game. If you take away Michael Thomas in New Orleans, Kamara and Mark Ingram aren't putting up the numbers that they put up.
Who's the top receiver for the Rams right now?
Well, they have they got a nice little trio. They got Robert Woods, they got Cooper Kupp, they got Sammy Watkins. And if you take away the year Woods had last year, or you take away some of the success that Cooper Kupp had last year, then it's gonna hurt Gurley. I mean, it just goes hand in hand.
Woods was injured for a good portion of the season.
Beginning of the year. Yep.
Cooper Kupp, I would say, I mean, he's a rookie, right? He was a rookie.
Yep.
His best days are in front of him. But reality is this. Todd Gurley was the main piece in that. I don't think anybody's sitting there saying, okay, we'll trade Antonio Brown for Cooper Kupp, or we'll trade Antonio Brown for Robert Woods. Oh, and Sammy Watkins was, let's be real, he was average at best last year. He was not. Right. He was not the Sammy Watkins that we're alluding to here. Todd Gurley did it with basically nobody. Okay, bunch of average Joes and a great defense. Let's not, they won with their defense. Todd Gurley got it done. Todd Gurley was on another level. If the Rams came to us right now and said, you know what, Gurley for Bell, straight up, I'm taking that all day, every day. All day.
You're a Lev Bell hater.
I've got a Lev Bell jersey hanging in my closet right now. I don't think I can be a Lev Bell hater and contribute to his Chinese flux of income that he's probably not getting. But I would say Le'Veon Bell, it's not that I hate the guy. I just dislike his mindset. He thinks that he is a player that is filling 3 positions. He said it himself. He fills 2 back roles. How the hell do you fill 2 back roles? Just because you can be out of the backfield and run the ball? That's not filling 2 back roles. That is essentially what the NFL is turning into. They're looking for more of these guys.
Not only does he fill 2 back roles, he also fills a receiver spot when asked upon. Yes. And he does a hell of a job at it. The catch he had in the divisional game against Jacksonville, there's not many receivers in the NFL that are going to make that play.
But he's going to be the first. He might be the first of his kind, but he's not going to be the best of it. So similar to, in the NBA, we talk about Jordan versus James. It's going to be a different thing. I mean, would you rather have a 2-back system? I would. I absolutely would. Because what happens if Lev Bell goes down? And what happens if he's hurt? As he seemingly, for the majority of his career, has been. Then what? Then you got $14.5 million on the shelf. If you got a 2-back system, one of them gets hurt, then what? You got a backup. And you can go find another piece. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you're putting $14.5 million in one guy that if he goes down or something bad happens, and my example is always, if he's crossing the street on Forbes and he gets hit by a bus, Jerome Bettis, what happens to this guy? I mean, what happens? We're screwed. We're done. You're putting all your eggs in that Le'Veon Bell basket. Sorry, man. Can't do it. Can't do it. And I think that's kind of where the Steelers are at. He hasn't shown himself beyond this season to want to be or to be able to be that every down back because he can't stay healthy. It's a league and a battle of attrition. And Le'Veon Bell is on the losing side of that more often than he's not.
I guess time will tell, right?
Oh yeah. Do you think this gets done?
Yeah, I do. There's enough hostility in Pittsburgh about not spending money to keep or acquire top end talent.
That's a different topic. I don't think the Steelers
I know, but still,
too craps about the Pirates.
I just think they got to pay. They just got to pay him. It's the year. I mean, it's got to be the year, right? I mean, I thought last year was the year, but if we can sew up that defense side of the ball, which we talked about last couple of days, this is the year, man. That we have the killer bees. We got the supreme offensive talents in the NFL on our side of the ball with a future Hall of Fame quarterback running the show without an incompetent Todd Haley calling the plays. It's got to be the year. So we got to pay the man. Just pay the man.
It's all about paying the man when it's not your money you're paying him with.
Straight cash, homie.
Oh, you and the Bandito. The thing is, man, I would rather see two backs for $14.5 million. I'd rather see someone like a Nick Chubb. Again,
you love Nick Chubb. You love Nick Chubb today.
I do. Dude, listen. I watched him game film. I watched him in the combine. Here's what I think. Nick Chubb's going to be overlooked because everybody's got their eyes on Saquon. And as much as I think that guy is a dynamic player, and he is in 4 years, we'll be talking about Saquon Barkley the way people talk about Le'Veon Bell right now. Nick Chubb is that blue-collar guy that does have top-end speed for a bowling ball of a human being. And he's going to beat you with power, and he's going to beat you with speed, and he's going to surprise people. So whoever gets Nick Chubb, I promise you this, you're looking at not only Mark Ingram, but surpassing that. He is a workhorse. Dude is a workhorse. And I think that whoever gets him is going to be pleasantly surprised with what they draft. Because I think it's going to be a later draft. I think it's going to be third round. I think Nick Chubb goes in the third round. And I think that it's, man, a team like the Colts, a team like the 49ers could really benefit from a Nick Chubb. And I think with the Steelers, where they're at right now, I think they need to look at drafting a running back pretty high. Because if you don't sign this cat, if you don't sign Le'Veon Bell, you run his wheels off this year and you take the risk of injury with a James Conner being the backup, but you need somebody waiting in the wings. I don't think James Conner is an every down back. If you can get a Nick Chubb and a James Conner, whoo boy, look out. But that's going to send a message if you draft a running back to Le'Veon Bell. Going to send a message. So it's going to be interesting, man. I can't wait to have my Springfield Grill.
Turtle soup.
Turtle soup. Oh, man. On Tommy P's. Whew. Can't wait. I'm going to order everything. I'll be like, give me a la carte.
Just bring it all. Bring it all out.
This left side of the menu, bring it. Just bring it. Man, we really got deep in that conversation. I like it.
No, it's gonna be a hot topic moving forward. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it takes place moving forward. So,
got about 13 or so minutes left for episode 26. I think we're going to save we were going to talk today about, do parents emphasize winning or losing too much at a young age? And that's a topic I really want to get into with you. Might want to bring in a guest tomorrow to kind of field this one as well. But we're going to save that for tomorrow. So if you have any thoughts on, parents emphasizing winning, losing too much at a young age, and I'm not talking about T-ball because, at least here we don't keep score for T-ball or stuff like that.
No, we don't either.
But like Little League, we call it minor league, 8U, stuff like that. But I think looking at that stuff, there's a lot of parents that emphasize winning and love it. And obviously when a kid loses, it's disappointing. Should we be, more about teaching our kids the game? Should we really worry about winning and losing at that age? Should we teach all kids how to lose? Should we teach all kids how to win graciously? So we'll get into that tomorrow. That's going to be a big topic, our heavy topic of the day, as Le'Veon Bell was today. We'll probably recap whatever happens in Pittsburgh. I'll put 99% on he's getting franchise tag, though. And then today, to finish it off, let's talk about the designated hitter. I know this is a huge topic that people, we'll talk about for the rest of time. But the designated hitter in professional baseball, yay or nay? What says you, Mr. Pease?
I think yay. I think it should be yay on both sides, NL and AL both. just because of the major emphasis that's put on pitching in the Major League Baseball organization. You got to have DH has got to be on both sides. I think it's good for the game too.
Yeah,
It gives players like Big Papi or what's it, Ryan Howard, the guy from Philly. It expands their careers, and it makes it better. I don't know. I think it just makes a better game in the NL when these pitchers got a bat. I mean, 99% of the time, it's a guaranteed out. I think you could make the game more competitive by adding DHs to both sides of the league.
Would you consider yourself an offensive guy or a defensive guy?
Well, I like the offensive side of baseball, but as a coach, I focus more on defense.
That's funny because I'm naturally I loved hitting. There's nothing like it. I pride myself on my hitting through since I was a kid. But defense for me as a catcher was what I loved. I loved it. I loved being able to be that guy, the quarterback of the baseball diamond, being able to see everything in front of me, things like that. I hate the DH. I hate it because here's the thing. It's like having a kicker, I think it'd be better if you just went for two every time. That's football. Football is not kicking through the uprights. There's a place in it, I guess. But for me personally, I'd rather see 2-point conversions. I'd rather see people go for it on fourth down no matter what, cause and effect. And for baseball, it's better when pitchers are hitting. Pitchers are athletes too, right? They specialize in just pitching. So you're throwing the ball with velocity or with specialty or with location. You should have to hit too. For me, and then you have role players off the bench, similar to what the Pirates do. And I can't believe I even just said that. But the Pirates have role players off the bench that are specifically there to pinch hit for pitchers, defensive replacements for situations that are called for. When you have a DH, it's just you specialize in hitting. So usually those guys are 90% slob at the end of their careers, that have nothing but power. Have you ever seen a DH that was a contact hitter?
No, they're normally power hitters.
So my big thing is most power hitters are slow. Most power hitters are, from a DH standpoint, I guess, most DHs are slow, sloppy, and it's either all or nothing. You talk about Big Papi, all or nothing, right? Dude's either blasting a home run. Only time he was probably one of the most clutch hitters of all time. And everybody remembers all the highlights, but they don't remember the lowlights, They don't remember him, striking out to end the ball game or striking out with runner on second and third with one out. But here's the thing, like DH is just, they slow the game. So, to me, that's all it is. You're slowing the game down, and that's the big thing in baseball. We want to speed it up. Well, baseball is strategy, and strategy requires you to lay down a bunt with a guy on first as a pitcher. Be part of the game, not just sitting there with a jacket on and wait until you're going back out on defense. That's garbage. DHs are for like slow pitch softball, right? Guys that just want to hit and don't want to field and can't field and stuff. Like that's what it's for. That's what the designated hitter's for. It's not for professional athletes. It's not for baseball. Ban the DH, as Bob Walk says.
Breaking news in the MLB. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
The Arizona Diamondbacks will use a bullpen cart in 2018. When they call in a pitcher from the bullpen, they will use a golf cart retrofitted with oversized hard plastic baseball caps that cost $20,000 to stroll their relief pitchers to the mound.
So like Major League, when Jake Taylor took the bullpen car.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I guess that kills some of my my mojo right there. Saying DHs are really well. They could probably use that too to take the DHs from the
on
circle.
deck circle to the plate.
Yeah, why not?
It's funny.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. It's you like the DH.
I do. I do like the DH.
Fight for it. I want to hear it. I want to hear why.
Just because I feel that you're talking like ALDH, right? I mean, I mean, I just feel that the pitchers spend 99.9% of their time working on pitching, working on their crafts, becoming, the best pitcher they possibly can be. And they don't take the reps necessary to be hitters. So it's a disadvantage for those NL teams because they're not going to be able to put up the offense that the AL teams are doing. So, I mean, I feel it's got to go one way or the other. You got to get rid of the DH completely or you got to add the DH completely. One of the two.
Ooh, we do have some breaking news. This time it's out of the NFL. The Eagles are heavily taking offers
for Nick Foles.
Yep. Heavily. I saw that they were taking offers. When you add heavily, that means that they're looking to move this cat. $7 million cap hit next year against the Eagles. And what happens if Carson Wentz isn't ready? They must know something we don't. Yeah, they know something we don't.
Yeah. He'll definitely be ready.
Would you, I mean, if you're in a position, and not to get back to the NFL, but you're in a position where you just won a Super Bowl and your window, all teams' windows are always closing, right? I've never seen a team with a window opening that stays open long other than the New England Patriots. But you're in a position where you've got a Super Bowl champion quarterback. There's two schools of thought there. You either deal him knowing that he'll probably never win another championship for him and you can get something back, or you hang on to him as a backup just in case.
I mean, if he's $7.5 million, you probably can't afford to keep him, right?
Oh, they seem like they were going to keep
Not
him.
Many backups are making $7.5 million in the NFL, I would imagine.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Right. So, if Foles, was a $2-3 million quarterback that you could keep on your roster behind Wentz just in case, I mean, yeah, absolutely, you got to do it. But it's $7.5 million. You ought to be able to, and the guy just won a Super Bowl, for crying out loud. You're going to be able to enhance your team, and that's probably what the Eagles are trying to do.
How about this one? They're saying Kirk Cousins not even thinking about going to the Browns right now. Not even on the radar. The four teams on the radar: the Vikings, the Jets, the Broncos, and the Cardinals.
How many quarterbacks do the Vikings want?
I think they're just getting rid of them. I think they're getting rid of Keatum. I think you can see, the other two getting at me with Stafford, or not Stafford. Who's the other one?
Bradford and Teddy.
Teddy Two Gloves. I don't know, man. I'll tell you what. The Vikings must be. They must know something we don't, because Teddy Bridgewater was their guy, got injured. They replaced him with Case Keenum. And Case Keenum did a hell of a job, especially over Sam Bradford. And the Vikings are like that kid that is always looking for the better prom date. You know what I mean? He nails down, his prom date. She's a great looking girl, comes from a great family, very respectable. All his buddies are like, yeah, that's awesome. That's great. She's a great girl. And then he's just looking to cash in on somebody else, right? Looking for that upgrade. I think the Vikings could get burned here if they keep trying to upgrade the system, so to speak.
Grass isn't always greener on the other side.
That's it, man. It's just about how you water it. And I'll tell you what, the loyalty factor with I think the Vikings already showed they're not very loyal to anybody when they decided to do all that with AP. But that's another story. But we'll have all this and more tomorrow. My friend, it was a great conversation today about Le'Veon. Finally, we're on the different sides of the table on something. I love it. I love being able to argue and then shake hands afterwards. But that is a wrap on episode 20. Oh, man. Episode 26. We talked about 26 all day. How about that?
Yeah. No pun intended, I guess, huh?
Irony. That does it, man. That's a wrap. Any final thoughts for Ep 26?
No. Episode 27, we could talk about Mike Trout.
All day.
All day.
Mike Trout. Philadelphia Eagles fan. Will that be the only championship he ever sees?
No.
You think he's going to get one?
I think so.
I think he'll have to go
young.
somewhere else to do it.
He'll be the next big signing for sure.
Go get him, Nutting.
Yeah, dream on.
I got $5 right now to put towards it.
Nutting's never wrote that many zeros.
That would be awesome. Mike Trout in Pittsburgh I'd blow my mind. It'd be nuts. Imagine Trout in Pittsburgh, the following he would have. He'd be a legend the rest of it. He would never have to buy dinner. He wouldn't need money.
Not happening.
I know. Just
dreamers can dream.
Yeah, I know. But Le'Veon Bell's not signing here either. Anyway, that's the end of our show. That's a wrap on episode 26. It's a great day.
Make it yours.
Bandito is coming.